Hey guys, welcome to Did You Get That on Film? On this podcast, we deep dive into horror movies, and so it is full of explicit content as well as spoilers. Please be advised. Now, let's get to the show.
Welcome to Did You Get That on Film? Where we discuss characters in terrible situations that we would never find ourselves in. I am your host, DP, and with me always is someone who I can trust to gauge a situation, look at a creepy clown who's not talking but smiling intensely, and know that it's time to get our stuff, get in our car, and go the hell home. My co host, Ruth. What's up?
But hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are happy to be here and happy that you guys are here.
Yes, this is actually a pretty cool episode for us because this is our first time recording new material since we've released the episodes. So I think we are 6 or 7 episodes out already. And this is going to be the first one that you guys are here that we have seen. This is the love. So it's like really special. We'll take a moment and just shout you all out because we thought it was going to be 5 people listening to these episodes and 2 of them with us.
Right. If we only got 6 listens in an entire month, we would have reevaluated, but
Our lives.
Right. But you guys are here. Y'all are here and you're listening, and we are so grateful. And we have plenty of people listening all across the US. So thank you so much, you guys. But we also have some international listeners, and we wanted to give you guys a very special shout out because not only did I think that this would go beyond our parents, I definitely didn't think that it would go beyond the United States. So, shout out to our listeners in Germany, the Philippines, Bosnia, India, and the UK. We are so grateful for you guys. Thank you.
It's great. Really is.
So, today we are talking about Terrifier 2. This is the sequel to Terrifier 2016, which we did in episode 4.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't listened to that yet, please stop now. Go listen to that one.
Up your podcast game.
Just catch up. Yeah. It definitely helps to see that one before we cover this one. So I would listen. There's just a little information that you guys need. And I think that it was actually one of our most popular episodes. I was worried that nobody would like it. It is a very gory movie for sure. But you guys seem to like it. So, getting to the movie. So, Terrifier 2, this was written, directed, and produced by Damien Leone. He's working overtime on this franchise. It was released October 6th, 2022, so it's very new. It is the second movie that is centered solely around Art the Clown. So the second feature-length film. But it's the third feature-length film to feature this character because there is an anthology film called All Hallows Eve, which isn't necessary to watch to keep up with Art's story, but it is a fun movie. Art's all throughout it, so if you want more Art, that is one that you could find, I think, on Prime.
It's on Tubi. As this recording, it's on Tubi and it's on Prime and it's on Shudder, and we love Shudder.
So for the timeline purposes of this movie, so the events of Terrifier 1 are supposed to have taken place in 2017. And that is the story of Tara, Dawn, Vicky in that whole Halloween night. Terrifier 2 takes place exactly 1 year later, but if you guys remember at the beginning of Terrifier, we get an interview with Monica Brown and Vicky, Potato Face Girl, and she attacks Monica Brown and turns Monica Brown into a potato face girl. This movie, imagine, is happening that exact same day because that event happened 1 year after the Miles County massacre. So this movie is essentially picking up right where Terrifier 1 left off. So we're just gonna jump right into it.
It was a dark and scary night.
Literally. So it starts, the movie actually starts, so the first scene is a little bit of a flashback, and the movie starts and we get a shot of a dark alley, and we see Art walking into the frame with his signature hefty fucking trash bag. While he's walking, we're getting some flashbacks, and I don't know if you guys remember, at the end of the first movie, Art is taken to the coroner's garage apartment / morgue because this movie has a very tiny budget. He's taken there, and somehow, by some forces, Art is resurrected because he shoots himself in the mouth at the end of the first movie. So he gets up and he starts strangling the coroner. That's the last shot that we see in the first movie. In this movie, we are actually seeing the coroner's death unfold on screen. So we're back in the coroner's garage apartment / morgue, and we see a very injured coroner. His throat has been slit, and he is crawling on the floor. He's totally covered in blood, and he is trying to escape Art, who we see walking slowly up behind him. And this, I was like, this might be the scariest Art's looked in the whole franchise. The look on Art's face when he's like covered in blood and stalking this coroner, I was like, what a great shot. Art looks scary as fuck. He looks crazy too. He has the huge grin on his face, and you can tell that there is some kind of like supernaturally-esque stuff going on, because in the background you can hear, it sounds like a storm kind of brewing. There's like papers blowing. It's like very windy.
Give me the power, I beg of you.
That's what's happening with Art right now. The coroner grabs the phone. I guess is the only thing that he can do in this situation because Art is right there, but it's not really going to do him any good. Art is right behind him, and we see Art as he's walking up. The coroner's trying to dial 911. Art catches a glimpse of his reflection in the mirror, and he walks up to it and he starts inspecting his face, and Art has an eye missing, and he has this gaping hole in the back of his head, and all of this was left over from the injuries that he received in the last movie, like shooting himself in the head. And so he sticks his finger, like all in the eye hole, he sticks his finger in the hole in the back of his head, and he gets some blood, and he wrote Art. He's leaving his calling card, which he does everywhere he goes, in whatever bodily fluid he can muster at the time. So he then turns his attention back to the coroner, who's on the phone with 911, but he can't really speak because his throat is slit. And so the coroner is bleeding out profusely, and he's definitely going to die from these injuries. So what happens to him is extremely unnecessary. This is his first on-screen kill. Us knowing Art, we know that he does really unnecessary shit. So he picks up a small hammer off a nearby table. He hangs up on the 911 operator, who's still trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Worthless.
I know. She was really irritating me because she just kept being like, hello, hello. And he's like,
Representative! That's what his eyes and the gash in his throat were saying. I could hear it. He's saying representative. And she was just like, okay, can you speak? If you can't speak, then go ahead.
Can you please tell me what's going on? It was irritating me. So I know this man was probably like, what the fuck?
he was like, please just send somebody.
I'm begging you.
And she's like, you mind taking a small survey at the end?
Basically, she had that vibe. She was just not fucking getting the job done. This poor man is like, my God, I'm dying. So Art then proceeds to pull out the coroner's eyeball, and then he jams it into his own empty eye socket. And y'all, that sounds really disturbing. And it is on paper. But when you see Art's reaction to it, he's so giddy and he's laughing and he keeps pointing at the corner and pointing at the eye like, see what I did here? And the coroner is literally dying on the floor. He's in so much agony. He's not really enjoying the joke. So Art just pops the fucking eye out and he takes the hammer and he finishes the job. He beats this coroner. He beats his head into a pulp. And then he takes his hands and he splits the coroner's head open and he pulls out his brain and he inspects it. And on that note, I probably should have said it prior to this kill. This movie, I would say, is very, very gory. I would say even gorier than the last movie. I know the last movie had that one really controversial kill. So I just want to give everybody a heads up that the kills that we describe in this movie are going to be pretty disturbing if you're not familiar with the Terrifier franchise. So I just want to put that out there. This is about the level that the kills are going to be on. Anyway, we then see Art empty a trash bag and he starts packing up some new tools for the night because he's obviously lost his bag at this point, right at the end of the movie. He died, they confiscated his stuff, he needs to re-up. And I was like, that can't just be one ordinary trash bag.
Are we just using the wrong trash brand?
That's what I was saying. And it's so funny because today I was thinking about this movie. I'm like cleaning my house and I was putting a trash bag in the trash can and I was like, I want to get an interview with Damien Leone just so I could be like, can you please give me the specific brand of trash bag?
Yeah, even in movie Magic, like he carried that bag all day. We need to know the brand.
Like,
And
what brand are you using?
I just felt it was nice that Art was, once again recycling. He didn't go get a new bag. He dumped out that trash. Art, there's a lot of character growth in this movie. People don't want to talk about it.
I agree.
But we will.
We will. Because there's a few times that I was like,
damn, Art is grown.
Right. So, continuing on. So he empties out the trash bag, he's packing up some stuff, and he's walking through this alley, and he walks out and he's totally avoiding the police, who, even though they've triangulated his exact location, somehow they're just not catching him, not in the area, just zooming on by. Art then walks to a laundromat to clean his blood-soaked costume. So he takes off his whole signature clown costume. It's like a one piece. And I thought this was crazy. Art is just like butt ass naked under this clown costume. Don't you think that's crazy? Is that not uncomfortable? Isn't everything like rubbing? I don't know. I thought that was super weird. But as his clothes are in the wash, the machine suddenly stops and Art looks up. And he looks over and he sees this really deranged looking little girl in her own version of Art's black and white clown costume and tiny hat. And this girl is going to be referred to as the little pale girl.
Please don't forget that hat.
Can't forget that. The little girl looks almost crazier than
she does.
Art
Not
does.
Almost. She looks crazier.
She looks very, very crazy. She has the same makeup on. She has the same funky ass teeth. And the little pale girl, she waves at Art and then, never breaking eye contact or dropping her smile, she proceeds to diarrhea shit herself. just sitting there, just shitting all over the floor. It's so fucking much liquid shit. Even Art stopped smiling. Art was like, damn, girl. Even I use a toilet. So then she just stands up. I know that she steps in it. She made no effort to like step around it. So I was like, damn, that's fucking disgusting. But she steps in the shit. She walks over to Art and they're smiling at each other and they're laughing about his missing eye and they're just having a really good time. And then they start playing patty cake.
You and me must never part.
That's like exactly what they're doing. When this man that up until this point, he's been sleeping in the laundromat, he wakes up and we see Art from his perspective. The little girl is invisible. It's just Art, this naked man covered in blood, playing patty cake alone. Dante, how long would it have taken you to... Exactly.
Gone.
Y'all, Art's naked, so he's not ready to do any kind of running. The man's sitting literally next to the front door.
Yeah, the front door.
As soon as I got up
and saw that, gone.
I would have been gone. It would have taken no time. I don't care if your life's possessions are in that fucking washing machine. Get the fuck out of there. He doesn't, and I don't like that. He doesn't fucking leave. Right. I would have been a ghost.
Starting to be like,
exactly. Though that's not this guy. We cut to Art then, and he's wringing out his clown suit, which is spotless.
Let's talk about it, because I haven't seen a white shirt get so much dirt on it and become so pristine since myself.
In college, yes. It's some kind of sorcery. It was sorcery then, and it's sorcery now. Because, Dante, if I get marinara sauce on a shirt, I have to throw it away.
I told you what to do, though.
I don't have the capabilities that you and Art have to get a shirt that fucking spotless. The shit, blood is so hard to get out of stuff. It's literally spotless.
But did you buy some club soda like I told you to?
Clearly Art did. He's like, this isn't my first rodeo. And he's even mopping up the water that he's gotten on the floor because he's not an animal.
Well, he probably felt really bad about the boy from the last one to clean up all that fecal matter. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. That was wrong. That was
Foul. Ramon. Rest in peace, Ramon.
And he probably thinks to himself, like, I'm not like that anymore. I got a new eye, new lease on life. Like, I'm seeing things differently.
Literally. That's what we call growth. He mops the floor. But we notice while he's mopping that the mop only has half a handle. It's a broken mop. But we see him grab his trash bag and he starts to leave. And as he's walking out, we see that he has killed that fucking looky-loo man that was watching him instead of getting out the front fucking door. We see that he's killed him by shoving the other half of that mop just straight through the top of his head. And that's what you get for not minding your business.
He probably said something to him too, like, hey, you weirdo, put some clothes on.
Then he had it coming. Second, Catherine Zeta-Jones in here. He had it coming. So this was, it was a kill, but it's not an on-screen kill because we don't actually see him do it. We see that it happened, but the guy is definitely dead. And then the title card pops up on the screen. So that was the cold opening of the movie, which was a good one. I thought it was better than the first movie. I thought that was a good scene.
Did the first one have a cold opening?
I mean, not really. It was that kind of Freddy Krueger-esque. Art's watching the TV and we see him preparing his tools for that night.
Oh, yeah.
And then he kicks the TV and then the title card comes up. It was like a little nothing. But I thought this was a good one.
This was like Scream 2 level. Just like real classy.
Right. He did a good job with this one. I mean, the whole opening sequence from the time he's in the morgue, I thought it was just really well shot. So next we cut to a girl's bedroom. And this girl, we will learn, is Sienna Shaw. and she is working on her Halloween costume for that year. So she's going to be like this angel warrior. This day is Halloween Eve. So it is 1 year since the Miles County massacre. So we're coming up on Halloween again. And we see her, she has these angel wings, and she's spray painting the tips of her wings, which she has set up on a dresser with 50 fucking candles underneath it. And I was like, who sprays paint on fabric sitting over open flames? Like, if art doesn't kill you and your family, this dangerous fucking arts and crafts project you're doing definitely will. That couldn't
Right.
be any stupider. Sienna. But she blows out all the candles when she's done. She heads downstairs. Next, we cut to Sienna's mother, Barbara, in the kitchen. And she's trying to make dinner. And we see that Barbara is a single mom who works 2 jobs with gentle hands and the heart of a fighter.
I wouldn't say gentle hands.
Oh, no. No, she'll slap the shit out of you in a second.
She is definitely a single mom, though.
She's definitely a single mom. And she's definitely giving off those vibes, too.
And she is working hard.
She's on the phone, working from home. And as the family sits down to dinner, we also meet Sienna's little brother, Jonathan, who tells them that he is going to dress up as the Miles County Clown for Halloween, so the AKA Art. Sienna is like, that's dumb, insensitive, and disrespectful as fuck, which is totally true.
Yeah, we don't live in Haddonfield.
Right. Like, it was only a year ago. Like, it's too fresh. What the hell is wrong with you? So she says, I thought this was so funny. She says, you don't see people dressing up as Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson. And that's so funny to me because do you remember what, like 2 Halloweens ago, everybody was dressing up as Jeffrey Dahmer because they had that fucking show?
Yes.
But Barbara forbids this costume. She asks him, how would you feel if somebody attacked someone in this family and then people celebrated it? And this is going to be some major foreshadowing, right? Because obviously this family's going to be attacked by Art. But after dinner, we see Sienna and her mother, and they're having a conversation about her Halloween plans. And she tells her mom that she's going to go to a Halloween party with her friends Allie and Brooke, who we'll meet later. And based on Barbara's reaction, we know that Brooke is the wild friend in this friend group, which will come up later. But Sienna voices her concern over Jonathan being a little too obsessed with the occult, with serial killers, Nazis, Art the Clown, things like this. Her mom is kind of brushing it off. She doesn't think that it's that big of a deal. So Sienna says something like, wait until you find him with the dead animal or something. But we cut to Jonathan's room and we see his little Art the Clown costume, which is hanging on the back of his door. And he's on the internet and you see that he's really fixated on the Art the Clown, Miles County Massacre. He's looking at all of this because he saw these sketches of Art in his father's sketchbook. He also, in this sketchbook, we see that his father had clippings of Tara, Dawn, all of that in there. It's at this point that we learn that Barbara's husband, Sienna and Jonathan's father, passed away. And so her mom thinks that Jonathan's behavior is just because of this. He's kind of still getting over the loss of his father. Later in Sienna's room, they discuss her costume a little bit. And this is where we learn that the warrior angel that Sienna is dressing up as, it was an idea that was created by her father. He came up with this character for her. And she is modeling the costume that she's building off of his sketches. We also get a shot of this sword that Sienna's father gave to her. He gave it to her right before he died. They also talk about Art, and Jonathan is convinced that Art is still alive because they never found his body. Sienna assures him that if Art is still alive, if there's a chance of that he's probably far away from them by now, right? He would be on the run.
Admirable,
But
mistaken. Wait, where do you think they were going with his storyline?
Jonathan?
Jonathan.
I think that either they wanted to do something different with him, make him a little darker than he ended up being, because Jonathan, despite the couple of things that he said at this dinner about like Nazis and stuff, and besides the fact that he wants to dress up as Art the Clown,
Jonathan is Magoo.
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 I'm not gonna say he's Magoo, but he's a sweet kid. You know, he really isn't.
Interesting.
It's not, stop. It's not that he's not interesting.
He's just there.
He's sweet. I'll give him that. He's there to give Sienna purpose, I think. He's there to drive her character.
I guess I'm asking you, like, knowing if you're listening to it, I hope you watch the movie. And if you haven't, then I don't know if it's gonna spoil it, but it's just like all that went nowhere. So like, was it just like a matter of you ran out of time?
Ran out of time, y'all. If you haven't seen it, this movie is long as fuck. I'm going to put it out there. This movie is way longer than it needed to be by, I would say, at least an hour longer than it needed to be. And I'm not trying to, no shade.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'll get to that where it starts to lag. But what I'm saying is, where are they going with this?
That's the thing. I don't know if they were going anywhere with Jonathan's story.
They need to talk?
I think all of these little conversations that they're having, it's for Sienna's backstory.
Okay.
I don't think Jonathan has a purpose beyond what he offers Sienna.
Okay.
Because I was reading about this when I was looking up the fun facts for this movie. Damien Leone said that he'd been trying to bring the character of Sienna to a movie screen. He'd been basically writing her character in some form for over a decade. It's his favorite character that he's ever written, more than Art. So I think that every other character in this movie is just kind of there for the purposes of what they bring to Sienna's story. Like Sienna and Art. I think those are the only people that are actually important. I don't think, no offense, I just don't think Jonathan is that important to the story. I don't think there was more for him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So later that night, after Sienna falls asleep, she falls asleep on this commercial about a clown cafe, and she has a nightmare where she encounters Art. In the nightmare, she is on the set of this clown cafe commercial because the shit was creepy. There's a host that's singing and playing a banjo, and everybody's laughing like insane people. There's a nun there ringing a bell, trying to get people to feed this homeless man. There's imagery of Art painted all around the cafe. It's
weird.
It's very it's the way it's set up is very weird because it's set up like it is a commercial that's being shot. So it's like on a sound stage, but then like on another sound stage, she's looking around, she's seeing this kid shooting a commercial for Art Krispies, and it says that there's a surprise in every bite, and they show the cereal, and the cereal is full of razor blades, glass, and insects, but the little kid's eating it. Then the banjo playing woman starts singing this deranged clown cafe song, and she tells them that there's a surprise guest that day, and she introduces Art the Clown. Everybody is cheering, and Sienna is like, oh fuck.
Freaked out.
Right. So Art comes out, he's really hamming it up. He's on this fucking tricycle. He's waving, cheesing it up to the crowd. He aggressively hands out snacks to these really crazy looking kids. And he hands Sienna a box. When she opens it, she finds this blackened, beating human heart, and there's worms all around it. And the box starts to fill up with black goo. And Sienna is having a panic attack at this point. But everyone in the room is still maniacally laughing, eating candy and popcorn and shit. like they've never had candy and popcorn before.
They eating it like popcorn shrimp.
I love popcorn shrimp. I can't even knock them for that. That shit, I eat it by the handfuls. It's the way they're eating is really crazy. The whole scene is just very unnerving. But all of this is leading up to just a whole mess of kills. I originally was not going to count these kills because I was like, it's a dream sequence and there's a lot going on, and I don't feel like counting these. But then I was like, I should for posterity's sake because I am trying to be a legitimate podcaster. So I ended up doing a lot of pausing and counting. And I'm going to add these to the kill count. Just because her dream kind of melds into reality a little bit too. So I was like, I'll count it. And then Freddy Krueger kills people in their dreams, and we count those. So I was like, I'll give Art these kills. This is from what I can see. Everybody's laughing, being crazy. Then Art pulls out a Tommy gun, and he starts shooting up the room.
He got that gun and he was like, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animals." He was like, "I'm going to give you the count of 10 to get you ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property."
Before I'm pumping people in lead.
"No, Johnny, I didn't do it. 1, 2, 10.
10.
Ah. And it was just like that, y'all. Art messed them people over. I mean, there was cotton candy everywhere.
Keep the change, you filthy animal. So he takes out the fucking Tommy gun and he starts shooting up everybody in the room. He ends up shooting. I had to pause it a couple of times. It looks like 17 people he shoots, kills. And I mean shreds with this Tommy gun. He ends up running out of bullets, and then he just shrugs and drops it. And then he goes over and he gets out a blowtorch, and he sets the Clown Cafe host on fire. But she's still like singing and dancing. So Art is also dancing, and she's still strumming this fucking banjo. He also sets another guy on fire, so that's 2 people killed with a blowtorch. Now everything is just starting to burn because this guy was rolling around on fire. This bitch is singing and setting stuff on fire, moving around. And Sienna gets hit in the leg, but she crawls away to the box of Art Crispy cereal. And we do see that the little boy eating this cereal has died from all the glass and razor blades that were in the cereal. So that's one person killed by Art Crispies. And right before Art is about to set Sienna on fire, she's able to pull her father's sword from the box of Art Crispies, and that stops the flames. So in that scene, that was a total count of 20 kills in this dream sequence. So that was Art's second through 21st kill. As she wakes up in a panic, she sees that the angel wings on her dresser and the sword on her dresser, it's all on fire. And her mom is able to rush in and put out the fire, but then she calls Sienna just a stupid fucking idiot because she's like, who goes to sleep with candles burning on their dresser? And Sienna insists they weren't lit. And we know that they weren't because we did see her blow them out earlier. But somehow the wings caught on fire, right? So Sienna's convinced that it's her dream the fire came into reality and set the wings on fire. Barbara's just pissed. She's not having any of this. Barbara spends the entire rest of the movie pissed. Barbara is their mother, of course.
Well, she's working too hard. She got 2 kids. It can never stop.
Because she's a single mom who works 2 jobs, yeah.
But she got a heart of a fighter.
She's a survivor. So later when Sienna goes to inspect her room, she finds out while her wings are totally destroyed, She sees that the sword that her father gave her as a gift was totally unscathed, which we did see it burning when the fire was lit. We saw that flames were touching it, but it's completely unmarked, not burned at all. And Sienna's pretty shook by this. So we cut to the morning, and it is now Halloween day. We get a shot of Art in his lair where he's, I guess, now babysitting the little pale girl. I guess they're just like a unit now. But he is getting to work preparing the weapons that he's going to use that night. And he has some really brutal weapons, but one in particular that he's making it's like a table leg, a thick one. And he's sticking forks, knives, all kinds of stuff in it. It looks intense. They're making a point of showing it so you know he's going to use it. As Art is making his weapons, the little pale girl is watching the interview with the talk show host Monica Brown and then Potato Face Vicky. And this is the interview that we got to watch being filmed in the first movie. So Art is listening in and he laughs to himself. And just like in the last movie, when Vicky says that Art is for sure dead, he kicks the TV, smashing it. So that morning at school, Jonathan walks up on some kids playing with a dead opossum, and it's full of worms and maggots, and Jonathan tries to get them to leave it alone, but the kids are just assholes. And they show this girl, Stephanie, they call her over to show it, and she gets very upset by this, and she runs over, and this gets the attention of one of their teachers, Miss Principe. Did you recognize who that was?
Yeah, Miss Big Dick.
It was Felissa Rose, who plays Angela in Sleepaway Camp.
I was like, yo! Angela, why you so fucked up?
Hey, Angela, why you so fucked up? Now she's a teacher. I guess therapy can do a lot. She just had to get some issues worked out, and now look at her. New year, new her. Felissa Rose.
We love you.
I know, we love you, Felissa Rose. Great cameo. Please do more. So she breaks up this foolishness, sends them to class, and later on, as Jonathan is going to get some water, he sees the little pale girl, and he follows her, and he finds her and Art sitting in the hallway, and they're playing with the dead opossum's corpse. They're having just a blast, and they start pulling out the opossum's intestines. The little pale girl's snacking on them. Jonathan ends up dropping his hall pass and making some noise, and they notice him. And I know that Jonathan probably shit on himself because the way that they looked at him was terrifying. So they end up throwing the opossum's corpse at Jonathan, and that's really gross. And so he drops it and he runs off, but he runs past his principal, and he has blood all over him. So she goes to investigate what he was doing, and she finds the dead opossum's corpse lying in the hallway. So it was really there, and Jonathan's like very much in trouble for that.
But why can Jonathan see the dead girl? When they made a point to show us that the
not everybody can see
her.
I don't know.
Why can he see her?
I don't know.
Why was that important?
But Sienna can see her too. I think that it's something that stems from their father. I don't know. So next we cut to Sienna at school, and she is talking to her friend Allie, and their friend Brooke comes up, and she tells them about how that morning after their interview, Vicky had a meltdown and tore off Monica Brown's face. And that's something that we saw happen in the first movie. And she's telling them that she heard that Monica Brown looks, she says like Mr. Potato Head, just like the inside of her cookie. It's just, she's really shitting on Monica Brown, but it causes Sienna to have a panic attack. And Sienna then tells them about the fire that she had in her room the night before. And she starts to tell him about the dream that she had and the sword and all of that, but she thinks better of it and just kind of calms down. Then we get a scene of Jonathan and he's arriving at his house and he's being escorted there by a police officer because I guess the police were called because of the opossum in the hallway. So his mom is pissed.
Still.
Right. So she's pissed and she sends him to his room without letting him explain. Next, we cut to a costume shop, and this is after school for Sienna, and she has to go to the costume shop because she has to replace her wings that caught on fire the night before. So she's with Allie, and they're buying these replacement wings. And Allie steps away for a moment to take a call from her mom, and she runs directly into Art, who smiles at her like a psycho, and then he tips his tiny little hat at her, and she's like, okay. So he then posts up in a corner and Sienna catches him just staring at her with that insane smile. And he does that like 1940s eyebrow raise flirting thing that they do in like cartoons. And Sienna is petrified.
Freaked out.
Because they're in
the mushroom. They're in the mushroom. You know what? Where we used to look for the old CDs.
In the back where nobody could see you or hear you.
In the very back, you really couldn't hear you. And it's like if you turned around and somebody was trying to corner you in there, they really could corner you because you kind of deep in the store.
That's what it's like. She's in an area where there's nobody else. And he's standing in the doorway leading out of it. So she has to
he's blocking her.
Right. She has to really squeeze to get past him. It's very uncomfortable, for sure. And what makes it even crazier is that so she's really, really creeped out because she knows who Art is. She believes wholeheartedly that this is Art the Clown. And I was thinking with that knowledge, she is creeped out, which she should be, but I don't feel like she's creeped out enough, right? Because if you were absolutely 100% certain that that was Art the Clown, wouldn't you leave?
I'll tell the guy to call the police.
Right. I thought this was so weird. She goes to the counter to check out her angel wings. And when the guy gives her the total, she says, I think I left my bag downstairs. In that very moment, Art slams her bag on the counter and just keeps walking over to this sunglass rack. And she is very creeped out. And the store clerk is also kind of like, this shit's kind of weird. And I don't blame them. So while Sienna's fumbling in her bag to get out her wallet, she keeps looking back. And every time she looks back, so Art is at this fucking sunglass stand, and he keeps putting on like different sunglasses. He puts on these sunflower sunglasses. He puts on the like fake googly eyes that pop out. And he's doing all these really goofy, ridiculous poses with this huge, exaggerated smile. He has blood all over his gloves from this opossum from earlier, and we know that he doesn't wash his hands. And he's making really obnoxious noises. He's using like the party horns. And the store clerk's like, bro.
He's like, don't put that in your mouth, you're going to pay for it. And I was like, that's how people pay for college. That same phrase.
Stop. I've seen plenty of movies start that way.
Plenty.
So he spits out this party horn, and I always wonder if the store clerk hadn't said anything to him, I wonder if things would have gone differently for him.
Probably. I just feel like it always starts with them saying something to Art, and then he's just like, stop talking to me. I'm not talking to you.
Right. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with you. So then we see that Art finds a replacement for his bike horn that he lost in the first movie, and he's ecstatic. So the store clerk, who is very dense and not getting the hint that Sienna just wants to get the fuck out of here, He steps away for a minute to get her a bigger bag for her angel wings, when she definitely just wanted to like carry them, run out the fucking store with them in her arms. Art decides to do one of those comical, exaggerated, like sneak up walks behind her. And he comes up to her. Sienna is wishing that she was anywhere else in the world in this moment. And he starts to raise the bike horn up to her ear. And she's like, please don't. And then he proceeds to obnoxiously blow this horn repeatedly in her ear, wearing it out in her fucking ear. And the store clerk is like, bro, you really need to chill the fuck out. And Art, the way that Art looks at him, his fate is sealed at this point. So as Sienna runs out of the store, Art follows her, and it kind of looks like he's about to leave, but he stops at the front door and he switches the open sign to close. He locks the door and he picks up his big hefty trash bag. And store clerk, you in danger, girl, because this is things about to get really fucked up for him. So this is setting up Art's 22nd on-screen kill. So Art comes back and he wants to buy his bike horn. The clerk rings it up. It comes up to like $8.99. So Art goes down in his big trash sack, and he's presumably to take out some money, right? Art starts pulling out all kinds of shit from this bag. He takes out like an empty beer bottle, a bike chain, a mallet, this cleaver. And the store clerk at this point has had enough. I feel like the store clerk isn't reacting appropriately to this situation, because once Art pulled out the meat cleaver, that's right. This is a weapon. This is crazy. So he threatens to call the police just as Art pops up with some money. So Art has some money and he's counting out his little coins, but the store clerk stops him and he's like, tells him like, get the fuck out of there or he's gonna fuck him up.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You know why? Because I would have been like, nah. Get out of here. You insane. I don't think people handle him not talking in a way that's appropriate for me, for my liking.
I agree.
Because why are you not talking? Why are you not talking?
I feel like people interpret his costume as a mime a lot because he's black and white. In the costume,
I don't believe in mimes like that. Because after a while, a mime
I don't believe in mimes. There's a whole federation of mimes somewhere that are about to unsubscribe to the podcast. How dare you?
How dare you?
Undermine the mime community.
Undermine?
I
know. The mimes are like, oh. If they got a problem, speak up. How about that?
But, so, just, no, now we're piling it on. They're gonna protest us, do a little silent sit-in.
The point is, it's just like, to me, Art is weird acting. And I just want people to act like he's being weird. Like, I just don't believe in that. Like, your face painted, you're not talking, you got a big old garbage bag. What's in that? Open that bag. Like,
What's in the bag?
Real quick. Open that bag
because
real quick.
He shouldn't have even been able to bring that
in
bag
the
in the store.
store.
Additionally, he smiles like an insane person. And those teeth are really fucked up.
And you stink. What's on your hands? Like, this weird.
You'll never let that go.
No,
For anybody that
don't.
doesn't remember, Art smears shit all over the bathroom walls in the first movie with his gloves on, and he doesn't wash those gloves until this movie.
So I've never let that go. Because he don't wash his hands.
He doesn't wash his hands.
He was digging all that possum. I don't like that.
He was, and he still has the blood on his hands. He didn't wash his hands. It's too much. And so anyway, the store clerk is like, get the fuck out of here. And Art smiles because he's like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. He grabs that beer bottle and he just smashes it over the clerk's head. He then jams that broken bottle into the clerk's eye. Then he takes the cleaver and he jams it into the top of the store clerk's head. And then he takes the cleaver and he just cuts the store clerk's head off completely. And he picks it up, and we get this scene where this kid and his mom walk up to the store, and it's closed at this point. And while they're peeping in, the kid sees Art, and Art is standing there like pretending to be some Halloween decorations, and he's holding the store clerk's severed head. And the kid thinks it's very cool. The mom just doesn't even notice. While all of this is happening, Sienna and Allie are in a nearby store, and Sienna is telling Allie that she is absolutely sure that the guy that she saw in the costume shop was the real Art the Clown, down to the dot that he has on the end of his nose. And she tells her about her dream and how she thinks it caused the fire in her room. And Allie is very skeptical of all of this. And she thinks that it's just a guy who has bad taste and he's dressing up as Art for Halloween. And she's like, well, Sienna, your brother wanted to wear that costume. You think nobody else in the town is going to wear it? And she also thinks that Sienna might be having like a mental health crisis. And so she's just kind of seeing things. But she thinks she's getting herself worked up for nothing. And she kind of just tells her to chill out, kind of tries to talk her down, which seems to work, for the most part. Sienna goes home, and when she gets there, Jonathan tells her that he saw Art the Clown at school that day, and he thinks that something really bad is going to happen tonight. He shows her that in his father's sketchbook, there's this newspaper clipping of a 10-year-old girl. So this 10-year-old girl is Emily Crane, and she was the daughter of a circus performer whose body was discovered dead at this carnival behind this trailer. This is revealed to be Art's first victim, and he is sure that the little pale girl that he saw with Art is this little girl, Emily Crane. This is her now in this dead, weird, supernatural state. There's a picture of Emily Crane, and it does look exactly like her. So their dad, also in his sketchbook, has newspaper clippings about Tara and Dawn's murders. He has sketches of Art the Clown, as well as his previous victims. He has sketches of the pest control guy. He has a sketch of Ramon. He has a sketch of Dawn and her sawing. And Jonathan believes that somehow their dad knew what was coming before he died, and that he knew how to stop Art. And he believes that this is why the dad created that warrior angel character for Sienna and why he gave her that sword right before he died. It's a powerful little speech, but Sienna isn't buying any of it. And so they're just kind of arguing. This is annoying. And I thought about you while I was watching this, because it comes up a couple of times where Jonathan is really trying to explain things to Sienna when he's really trying to help her and his mom see reason. And it doesn't make sense to me that Sienna just does not believe him. Right?
Because the sequence of scenes, how the scene right before this was literally her telling Alicia that
Allie? I'm sorry.
where she was literally just telling her, I swear this was the guy, and then
not just telling her, she was begging her
to believe
her.
I'm so freaked out. That was the guy, and then Jonathan comes home. You come home, Jonathan's like, You wouldn't believe who I saw. Who? Arthur Clown.
And she's
You
like, no, you
really?
didn't.
You're like, no, you didn't. Actually, you didn't. Because I know that I saw him first. So, like, because I saw him, only I could see him. So obviously, you didn't see him because I saw him. Like, that's the logic.
Right. I don't like this. It gives me very much the vibes of the squatter lady in the first one trying to convince Mike, the pest control guy, that Art is in the building and he's already killed 2 girls, and Mike knows for a fact that there are 2 girls here, and he just refuses to believe her. It just defies reason.
And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, it makes perfect sense. Think about how much sense that make. The school and the costume shop and the house all in the same city. Of course you saw them. That make perfect sense.
Right. Y'all are all walking to all these places. Like,
Like
I
nobody's got in the
just
car since we started.
since we've been in this movie. So I just don't. I didn't like this, and Sienna ends up doing this a couple of times, and I find it very frustrating.
Why I ask what is Jonathan's purpose? Because why did they add this scene? Like they want him to be more in the movie or something? Like this scene, I'm saying like she could have found the journal herself. She could have just
Right.
found it. So it's like you want him in this movie, but like this was crazy. This was just crazy. And then y'all, there's an hour and 22 minutes left of this movie.
He's not lying, y'all. The movie's so fucking long.
We just hit the hour mark.
And no, it's such a long movie. Jeez. Well, let's keep going. Keep going. So Sienna's being irritating in this moment. What makes it even more irritating, Dante, is that so Barbara walks in and she's still pissed. It's her default state in this entire movie. She is telling Sienna how Jonathan might get suspended for bringing that dead animal into the school and vandalizing the hall. And Jonathan begs Sienna to believe him that he did not do that, that it was Art and the little girl who brought the opossum in the school. And Barbara's like, I've had enough. I don't want to hear
I've
shit
had
about that
enough.
shit again. And she's being really tough on Jonathan. I think that if it was me as a mom, no, I'm not mom shaming here, but him bringing a dead animal into the school, that's kind of worrying behavior. Not angry behavior, but I'm scared for you behavior. I don't know if I would be going this
But
hard
it
on
wasn't.
him.
But it wasn't like he was hiding it. It kind of felt on the boys being boys. Like how gross is that? That's some nasty, gross like
That's
teen.
so disgusting.
Right.
But at the end of the day, Jonathan didn't do it, and he's begging his parents. I just feel like, and she's like, the principal caught him red-handed. I was like, not necessarily. He could have just found it.
He could have found it, scared him, and he ran.
Right. Sienna, she doesn't believe him, and she tells him that it was probably just some kids messing around for the 1 year anniversary. Bitch. He saw Art the clown. Art is 6 feet tall. He's a whole fucking dude. Do you think that, like, think about what you're saying. You saw him too. You know what the fuck he looks like. Jonathan's telling you, I saw Art playing with this dead opossum, and you're like, oh, it's just some kids. No, Sienna. But it's what makes it doubly frustrating is that Sienna, when she goes downstairs and she's talking to her mom is, she's like, can you believe he did that? And Sienna's like, she really doesn't believe that he did it. She doesn't believe that he vandalized the school. She doesn't really have a chance to get into it before the doorbell rings. But I was like, what was the point of you telling Jonathan that? I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I don't have siblings and I don't understand. Maybe she's just trying to keep him calm. I don't know, but I was like, why would you just kind of shit on him like that?
Because you
If you don't,
weird. Because
it's
you
very
weird.
weird.
This was this whole like thing was weird. This whole like 8 minutes of story was so crazy because it literally didn't have to go back to her house. They could went back to her house after they left the store, and literally like she could have just started getting dressed, or you know,
Right.
we didn't even have to know. Why did she even know he was punished? That's what I'm saying. Like, and it's strange because it's like you don't want. The movie is not bad, but that is a very, very strange like setup because you were freaked out, so you shouldn't have went. You wouldn't have went anywhere because then it's like we already know. Because this is what I'm thinking. Okay, so is this spoilers? Well, I don't care. God, I'm such a bad I'm such a bad podcast. I'm so awful at this. This is why they don't let me talk. But it's like Art Art is gonna come to their house because he know where she lives because he went all in there. He was all in her bag. Like down that stairs, he was going through her bag. He thought took
Right,
some money.
because think about that, because she
He
was
had it.
up there. He had it for a good few minutes. I'm
He
sure
took
he
some.
went through it.
He took some money too. Probably he was
He
like
it's no, that's so funny because he took more money from the coroner too. Do you remember that? He went straight
right.
to his wallet. It
He
took
was like
money.
he was like, well, I mean these bags are expensive. I gotta order them. Like
Right.
I can't
And
just
he's like, you don't need it.
right. You did like selfish. So I'm just saying like even if they would have cut the whole movie of him being in the house. It's like at this point you could do so much because that would have been cool if it's subverting expectations. Okay, yo, I'm scared, but okay, I'm not going anywhere. But now we have to go. Oh, he know where she lived because he had her bag. Ah, you know how cool that would have been.
Right. And that's a good point because Jonathan, he Sienna won't believe him. And he asks her, well, like, you don't have to believe me, but will you please just stay home tonight? And
Right, just stay
she
home.
yeah, she won't do
And
that.
I
She
just
won't do
feel
that.
like if I would have asked like one of my siblings, my sister, or my brother, like stay home because I'm afraid something's going to happen to you, they would just do it.
Right. If you were that afraid,
Stressed
I
out, especially
just
at that age. You know, like well,
right.
I don't want to say it's a missed opportunity because the movie is not bad, but like to me, like you're setting up stuff for it. I don't like. There's just a different way, and it just seemed like this was muddled. That part was muddled to just have conversations that went nowhere. And my only complaint about it is again I can't stress enough. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It is. So
Y'all, we got an hour and 15 minutes.
I know. So let's keep going. We're gonna get into more of it. So she tells her mom that, and so the doorbell's ringing, and so we assume it's trick or treaters. So she goes to answer the door, but she's answering the door, but we're cutting to Allie's house, who's also answering the door for trick or treaters, and she's handing out candy, and she notices a black van parked across the street from her house, and we as the audience can see that the little pale girl is inside the car. And in this moment, I was like, "They Art drives? I didn't know that. I didn't know Art had a license. You never
Or got a
see him
license.
driving.
And who car who truck is that?
Whose truck is it? I don't know. That's so weird."
He ain't care. He was like shit. They did.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm tired of walking, and now I has this little girl with me.
He ain't
I
got no
need a
drawers
van."
on. He might be chafing
And
and
think
stuff.
about the
You know how it is.
chafing. I know it must be hot. So the next time her doorbell rings, this is Allie, it's Art. He is covered in blood because remember he killed the store clerk. And this is another scene that frustrates me. Allie frustrates me. She recognizes that it's the guy from the costume shop because obviously he's very easily recognizable,
Them teeth.
among other things, with the fucking teeth, that little ass hat. And he
He
confirms
stank.
that he stinks. He confirms that it is him from the costume shop. He's shaking his head. Of course, he's not talking. He never talks. And he has this exaggerated, crazy smile, and he holds out his bag for some candy. And she says, no candy for grown-ups, and closes the door in his face. Art then starts pounding, beating on her door. This is fucking alarming. She opens the door. Dante, am I taking crazy pills? Why the fuck did she open the door?
No,
This,
she's taking idiot pills. Just give him the candy.
but this is
I'm
the
a
thing.
I'm a firm,
Before,
fervent believer in just like give him the candy. Yeah. Yo, oh, that's
but
like he getting
bef-
candy. Here you go.
I agree. But before that, even when you open the door and you saw that this man has followed
Followed
you
you home.
home, that's
Scary.
alarming. And then she's talking to him and she's like, seriously, do you live around here or something? Bitch, have you
He's
ever
like,
seen
nah.
him around here before?
He straight up say no.
He was like, no.
He
And then
just
she
shakes his
just
head.
kind of continues with the conversation. I thought this was very cute. He followed you home, but then beyond that, Sienna has also told you she's described him and she's like, I believe that's Art the Clown. You didn't believe her, but in this moment, are you not like, fuck, this is kind of weird. This is kind of scary. There's this black van parked across the street from my house. Why aren't alarm bells going off in this morning?
He want the. He would if once you open the door. First of all, I check my peephole all the time, even when I trick or treat.
That
I'm like,
part.
oh no, that's a whole adult. Negative. And I know it's a movie, so she's like, I guess a teen, and she's like, here, take all the candy. You're a loser, and I'm just like, I don't know
No. So
who
that's what
who
so
behaves like that.
no fucking body. So that's what ends up happening, guys. So she after she opens the door the second time after he's pounding on it, he's still there holding out his bag for candy. And she says, "If I give you candy, you'll leave." And he shakes his head. Yes. She picks up a handful of candy and then she just fucking lobs it at him. She doesn't put it in his bag. She throws it at him. It hits the bag. It falls all over the ground. And this was a poor choice on her part, right? And I remember when I was looking at this scene on YouTube, and somebody in the comments wrote, "She did the most, so she got the most." And I was like, I agree with that wholeheartedly because there really wasn't any reason for her
Do
to
that.
do that. So it's after the candy is thrown and it goes everywhere, she finally notices that in this bag that Art is holding open in front of her, it's full of these blood-stained tools. You know, he has that cleaver that he just used to kill the store clerk. And so now she's creeped out and she goes back in her house and she watches Art walk away from her bedroom window and she's very shook. I feel like I don't know. I think I might have called the police in this moment, or I would have left my house. You're gonna meet up with Sienna anyway. Why don't you go to Sienna's house now? Leave. He's right outside of your house. He has these bloodstained tools. I don't know. I just don't think that I would have stayed in my house. I don't know. Am I being too paranoid?
No.
It's just I didn't like Allie in this moment. I just felt like she didn't make the right decisions. They're not the decisions I would have made for sure. We just never relate to anybody in these movies.
Then the comments like, "Cause y'all ass is unrelatable."
I know, right? Because maybe we're the ones that are so unrelatable.
Y'all like 40.
Stop. Oh man. Let's get back to it. Allie tries to call Sienna. But Sienna we cut back to her house and she's watching a breaking news report about Vicky's attack on Monica Brown. And they're talking about how after the interview, it was that morning, it was a live interview, and that Monica Brown got her face torn up and she is in critical condition and Vicky had been arrested. And we also learned that the interview was kind of controversial in the first place because Monica Brown tends to exploit her guests that are in
How you
situations like this.
doing?
I knew you would.
How you doing?
That's exactly what I thought about. I thought about her. I thought about Dr. Phil. And it made me wonder, do you think that's why Vicky went on her show? Do you think that she just kind of was always planning on tearing her face up?
No, I don't. I just feel like she was the only person who would interview her.
Stop. Oprah would have interviewed her.
I highly doubt that Oprah would have interviewed this lady.
I think that Oprah would have interviewed her because didn't who I feel like Oprah did an interview. Remember when that lady got her face ripped off by that monkey?
Oh, you know what? Oprah would. You remember that interview? You may not remember this interview, but you seen this picture of that young lady who was unfortunately hit by a drunk driver, and her face burnt
Her
off,
face
and the
got
pit.
burned off.
And she always wear that hat in her picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Oprah did interview that lady. So yeah, she was interview. She was interview
That's what
Vicky.
yeah, I think she would have
Yeah,
interviewed
yeah,
Vicky.
yeah.
Well, so this is what so Sienna's watching this happen on the news, and then there's this weird moment where the news reporter is talking and she briefly says Sienna's name, like she addresses Sienna, and Sienna is shook. And this is, I think, supposed to be. There's this kind of theme in the background that's running just kind of under the surface where I think when they were in the store, Allie mentioned something like maybe like have you had a change in your medicine or something, and she's like, I'm not crazy. I think there's this kind of this theme running in the background where it's like I think she is wondering and maybe you're wondering too if Sienna is crazy. Did you notice that? They really talk about her
No,
mental health a lot.
but it's a sequel. We know that she's not crazy. We've met Art.
I know. It's well, I guess I'm thinking that it was something that was kind of unnecessary for them to put in there. So yeah, so Sienna, because she has this little moment with the TV, we see her rush to her room and she takes some medication, some Xanax, because she is obviously having an anxiety issue. So that's another thing. She had a panic attack at school earlier when they were talking about Monica Brown's face. So it's another thing. She has anxiety issues. But Sienna is able to pull herself together. And next we get this montage of her getting dressed for that night, and she's putting on her warrior angel costume.
He really liked that character because think about like he start with her in the shower. You get to see the whole setup.
The whole setup, yeah.
The
And
whole
they do,
setup.
he also spends a good bit of time watching her make it too, right? Like fix
Yeah.
it up. Yeah. He spends a lot of time talking about this character. Yeah. So then we cut over to Allie's house, and she is also getting ready to go out that night. But from her bedroom, while she's putting on her makeup, she hears a loud crash come from downstairs. And she goes to investigate. She brings no weapon, no phone, nothing. It couldn't be me. It could not be me.
I wouldn't have went downstairs.
I wouldn't have gone downstairs either. What are you going to do if you find something? What can you do? So when she gets to the kitchen, she sees that her glass back door has been completely smashed in. Dante,
So you go to the front door, right?
immediately run. She just stands there looking at it. And then we see Art. He just casually walks into the kitchen, paying her no attention. And he gets a drink of water because he is trying to get hydrated and prepared for the work that he's about to put in. because all of this is setting up the 23rd on-screen kill. I know you guys can't be shocked by it, but Ellie spends literally, I would say, like 60 seconds watching him.
It's a very strange, it's almost surreal because he drinks that water and you're just like, she's still standing there. Huh.
He drinks a whole glass of water. He's walking, y'all. When I say he walked in, I don't know where he was. Maybe he went to pee to really get ready because he's like, I don't want any interruptions after I start. But he walks into the kitchen so fucking casually and gets this glass of water, and she's just standing there. As soon as I saw, because I think you can see, because her mom sees it later when she gets home, I think you can see the kitchen door smash from the stairs as she's walking down from her bedroom. I wouldn't have gone in there at all. I would have ran out the front door. I'm confused. But she's standing there, she's watching him. There's an open door right there, but whatever. He then picks up two, I think, a scalpel and some scissors, and he smiles at her, and that's when she decides to run. But she runs
Up the
upstairs.
stairs.
She runs upstairs. Why?
She literally, y'all, it's not a bad movie because it's like a fun movie,
Right.
but I was just like, Ellie more annoying than Tara.
This was a very, very dumb decision because, okay, you froze, you didn't run out of the front door immediately when you saw that your back door was smashed in. But I feel like she had enough distance to not run up the stairs. The door to her back door is smashed open in a way that the glass pane is completely gone. She could have just ran through it, straight through it, and run out that way to make a quick exit. And she could have been out of the house.
Ooh, gotta go.
Right. But she didn't. She goes up the stairs. Now, you guys, I know that I did say it earlier about how this movie is very graphic, but I do have to just give one more warning. This kill
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. That it is to this movie what Dawn's kill was to Terrifier 1. It is like this movie's like money shot kill. You know what I mean? It's the kill that makes the movie what it is. I was reading about it, and Damien Leone actually spent, so this was like post-COVID, he spent about 2 weeks shooting this kill. So just to give you guys a heads up, I would fast forward maybe 2 minutes if you don't want to hear it, but it is going to be graphic, so let's get into it.
Hell, I want to fast forward 2 minutes.
I know.
I skipped it the second time I watched it.
I don't blame you. I would have skipped it, but I wanted to take the notes on it, but I just tried to get through it as quickly as possible. So Art is chasing Allie. She runs up the stairs, which was stupid, but then did you see she tried to climb out the window? Bitch, the second story window, he's already behind you. I just thought that was so silly. But she obviously can't. He grabs her from behind, and he ends up slicing her face vertically from like her scalp to her chin through her eye and everything with a scalpel. It's very, very bloody. He then takes some surgical scissors and he starts to cut into her scalp area, and he starts cutting / pulling her scalp off, and he's able to totally scalp her, a la Cat Lady from the first movie. He doesn't put this one on, though.
She ain't really had no flow.
She didn't. She didn't have that 20-inch. He then throws her on the bed, and with the scalpel, he starts to really slice into her back, like very deep, digging into her back, and he starts peeling some of her back skin away. He also takes her arm and he pulls it up behind her and he snaps it, and he just keeps like wrenching it until he breaks off the entire, I would say, elbow down. He just breaks that off. He then flips her over and she's on her back, and he takes her other hand, and with both of his hands, he grabs 2 fingers in each hand, and he essentially tears her arm in two lengthwise. And I'm sorry to make this comparison, but just so you guys know, like a string cheese comes apart. That's exactly what her arm looks like. It just comes apart. He then slices her a little bit more, and he runs out of the room. Somehow, Allie is still conscious, which would not actually be the case. I'm sure she would have passed out at this point. So she tries crawling over to her cell phone, and she is able to make it very far, even though she's bleeding profusely. And the music kind of settles down. So the movie kind of gives you like the sense that maybe this is over. But it's not, because Art comes running into the room and he's so giddy. I mean, he's basically falling over himself. The music ramps up again, and he's holding a container of salt in one hand and a bottle of bleach in the other. And he then pours the bleach all over Allie, and she is screaming, blood curdling screams. He then pours salt all over her open wounds, and then he pours a bunch of salt in his hand and grinds it into her open back. And she is screaming this entire time. It is very, very, very brutal. So, it's a lot. Allie's mom comes home and she notices the destroyed back door, and she runs upstairs to find Allie. And she ends up finding Art along with Allie's body sitting on Allie's bed. And Art is just peeling very thick pieces of flesh and muscle off of the bones on Allie's leg. And her mom is horrified. Art is, of course, in stitches. And while she is having a psychotic break, Allie moves and she opens her eye. Oh, I forgot to mention, after he pours the salt on her, he rips off essentially this, like, all the skin from half of her face. So you see all the teeth and muscle and stuff. But she is able to open one eye, and she calls out to her mom. And so she is still alive. And her mom is hysterical at this point. And Art is laughing, and he's pointing at her like a gotcha pointing. And that is how that scene ends. I know that was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
What did you think of that kill
I saw
compared
it in the
to...
movies.
I can't imagine, because I didn't see it in theaters. I watched bits and pieces of the movie before actually sitting down to watch it, and so I'd seen that kill.
We was all just like, God damn.
I can't imagine. And I know we were talking about, realistically, I don't think Allie would still be alive. I think she would have bled out.
Why? But you remember when John Voight got swallowed by the anaconda, then he came out and he winked at Jennifer Lopez?
Another thing that wouldn't happen. Those are two things that would not happen.
Yeah. John Voight went like a Latino.
That's the most unbelievable part. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it was very brutal. And I think, in my opinion, much harder to watch than Dawn's death. I know people had a lot to say about Dawn's death.
This one just went on for a long time.
It went
This
on
was a
for a very long
long
time.
scene.
It
It was a
was very
lot, and
long.
it started. But you know, like it kind of gets like secular in the sense of, you remember in the first one when Tara sees him the first time, she like goes fist with him, and it's kind of like that zoom in. It's like scary. He
Right.
broke the glass. He runs. It's scary, But then by the end of it, it's so ridiculous with that salt and that bleach. That it's not scary
It's
anymore.
not scary anymore.
It's just like, damn, this still going on. And Art is so goofy in himself. Then he started laughing. So then you like, this dude is a fool.
You're right, and I totally agree. And I were talking about this earlier, and I know that the movie's very long, and we were talking about how Damien Leone is going to make it shorter. And you mentioned that he is also going to move a little bit away from the supernatural, right?
Yeah, that's what they said about Terrifier 3.
I know that at this point, people kind of associate this franchise with these big, crazy kill scenes. This scene to me, it wasn't scary. It was a lot to watch, but it's like that's not realistic. Like I just kind of felt like the kill was so ridiculous that I was just kind of like, okay.
It's nasty. It's gross.
It is gross, the thought of it, but I didn't feel that grossed out watching it, really, because prior to watching the actual scene, I was watching something on like the practical effects, and I saw the dummy that was used.
You a dummy, bitch.
Don't nobody want you, don't nobody need you.
Wait till I learn how to do these edits, y'all. Y'all gonna love it. I'm gonna just have random stuff shot now.
So I just felt like it was so over the top ridiculous that I just didn't. I wasn't scared, and I saw the dummy that they used prior, and when it's sitting on the bed, it looks like a dummy. It looks exactly like the dummy that I saw in this Instagram post. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't really. It's just too ridiculous.
I wasn't scared.
Right. I wasn't scared. So I hope that maybe it's like, yeah, I get it. That's fun and all, but I would like a little bit more creepy and a little less ridiculous. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
is it because it has so many scenes like that? Because you had just came from the last kill was what's his name, Marcus in the costume shop.
That was pretty ridiculous, and then it kind of looked funny. Did you think it looked funny? Like it looked fake.
It looked fake. Well, it kind of looked funny. She's trying to keep this. She want this podcast to work, y'all.
I know. Stop! I just don't want to get canceled.
And she looked fake.
I don't want Damien Leone to shit on us. But it looks kind of fake, and so
because it's practical effects.
But practical,
so it's not CGI at all.
Well, wait.
Okay.
This is what let me tell you a little
There's
something.
more.
This is something that I was gonna say in the fun facts, but this movie, it is very impressive to me to know that the movie was completely independently made. It is a completely independent production. Like I said, with Damien Leone, when we say that this man is working overtime, he really is. We made fun of it in the first movie, but like when we say that this man was like selling fish plates to get these movies made, he essentially was. Like he is working for this funding. So he raised money through several sources. There's no studio aid at all. I think that the budget for this movie was $250,000.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot. Damien Leone created all the special effects for this movie himself in order to cut costs. The movie is like 99% practical effects, which is super impressive that this man was able to write, direct, produce, do these practical effects. I mean, it really is a feat. So you have to give him credit for that. I say 99% practical effects because the 1%, there are two scenes that use CGI. And it's funny that maybe you didn't even realize it, but it's the scenes we're calling out Allie's death as well as Marcus in he uses a little bit of CGI. So Allie, he uses CGI to put the actress's like eye on
The dummy.
on the dummy, because remember there's a scene where she opens her eye. So it's actually, the scene was shot with people under the bed moving this life-size animatronic dummy. The room is built like a set, and the operators under the bed and behind the wall are moving the dummy, and you can tell because it moves funny on the bed. So that one, I was like, it moves funny, it moves like a doll. So that was another reason that I didn't think it was like scary, because I could tell it was a doll. And then when her eye opens, it looks kind of fake, and that's because it's CGI'd onto the dummy. So that's another thing that I was like, Marcus's face was actually CGI'd on a dummy to give the expressions. And I was like, that might be why that kind of looked fake too. And so that's why I was like, neither of those scares really scared me. And but I still appreciate very much the practical effects, because it's just so rare in movies these days. But I just feel like he is very, very good at practical effects. I think he did a really good job with Dawn's death in the first movie. I just think if you didn't go so over the top, you could kill it, right? They would look really, really good, but you're kind of doing like a little bit too much, and it teeters over into the not believable, right?
Or just the funny.
Or just funny, yeah.
Because we like B horror movies.
Yes.
And then, like, Hellraiser is like one of my favorite movies. And it's gross. But the idea of art for me is scary. But, like, these movies are more, they're not really that scary to me.
I
But I get
agree.
that but Art himself is, like, scary because it's just like this clown. It's, like, killing people. That's scary. But, like, when I watch the movie, I'm not, like, scared.
If anything, I find myself laughing at
With
certain
Art.
points. Right.
Because Art's so damn silly. That boy goofy.
He is very, very goofy. I think I found him scarier in All Hallows Eve.
Didn't you find him scarier in like it's like is he was in the tape but then he wasn't in the tape?
Right. And that was scary. It wasn't over the top. It was all very subtle. It was like the tension was building. He's very creepy. There wasn't a lot of times in the second one where I felt scared. I thought that scene where Tara sees him, and I thought it was shot really well, where she sees him and she's looking at him and we don't know what she's looking at, and then the camera pans to him and he's there. I thought that
We
was like
love
a
the
good
scene.
scene. That was a really well done scene. You don't get a ton of scenes like that in this movie. Art's just kind of running around being just
Manic.
right, and it's a lot.
But you get a lot of scenes because we got an hour left, right? Like we
Oh
got
my
like
god.
about because she ain't left the house yet. She getting dressed.
She hasn't even gone to the party yet. Okay, here we go. We're gonna cut back to Sienna, and
She ain't got no clothes on.
she. I know. I'm not. I feel like I was like, am I a prude? Because after she put on the costume, in my mind, I was like, damn girl, where's the rest of it? I would never.
Anymore.
I mean,
Okay, but
stop.
the point is this. The point is this. Y'all, Sierra have on this costume. And I think it's plastic, but that bitch is short.
And then her mom is like, where's the rest of your fucking outfit? And she's like, Mom, you knew what it was gonna look like. It's based off of Dad's sketch. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have to side with Mom on this one. And I was like, damn, am I getting old?
Yes.
I just
We are. We are.
I wanted her to put some more clothes on. But anyway, she leaves the house and she meets up with Brooke at this big Halloween party. And Sienna is very stressed because she still hasn't heard from Allie, and
She at the
Allie's
club.
supposed to be there.
They lied. They lied about
They
going to a
lied to her
party.
mom, but it's not a club. Well, I guess it
It
could
has to
be.
be a club because they're ordering drinks.
You're right, but
It's a 21. It's a 21 and up club.
It's giving that barnyard rave in Halloween 2009.
But you just told us that it was $250,000 for the budget. So what you want it to be? Metro?
It looks like a barnyard, so I'm sorry. They're at the
So
club,
so,
I suppose.
so they're red eye.
So it's like a big Halloween bash, but she's stressed because Allie is supposed to be there with them and she's not, and she's also not answering her phone, and she's worried because she knows that she saw Art earlier. Her brother's playing with dead animals. It's just a lot going on. So Brooke doesn't care at
That's not
all.
weird to you? Could you imagine that one of us is supposed to be somewhere and the other one not? You wouldn't be like, where you at?
The fact that she isn't worried at all. Like, Sienna's like, well, did Allie text you? And Brooke's like, no. And Sienna's like, well, can you check? And this like offends Brooke. And I was like, well, bitch,
Are y'all friends?
are you friends? I don't know if Brooke is friends with any of them.
No, she was at school with them, remember?
I don't think she cares about these people.
Oh, okay, understood. I'm just saying, like, even if it's not like Arthur Clowns, like, it's not weird that, like, what if something happened to her on the way there? Like,
Right.
you just being crazy. I don't like that. You being
I don't like it
crazy.
either.
You got them dreadlocks in your head with that uniform with
She
that.
has the white people dreadlocks. Oh my god, I forgot. She has those fucking dreadlocks.
I don't like that. I just don't like when, and that's a trope in a lot of movies. It's like friends who don't care. I just hate that. I hate that happens a lot in movies. I just don't like that because it's
I
not
don't find it believable.
believable that you would just not want your friend to know. I can't relate.
I can't relate. I'd be very, very worried. I'd just be so worried. But Brooke is not at all. She's really just trying to party. We also meet up with Brooke's boyfriend, Jeff. And when he walks up, he has on a ghost sheet with some glasses. Did you notice that?
I did, but I hate Brooke and him. So
It's a Halloween Easter egg.
it's
So
a
he's
cool
dressed
Halloween Easter egg. He's dressed as Michael or as Bob.
right. So he's dressed up, and then he takes off his ghost costume, and he has on this shirt, and it says just the tip. And it's like a knife with blood just on the tip, but that'll come up later. So Sienna is just worried. So I guess she's low key being a little bit of a buzzkill, but
I just got there.
I know. But meanwhile, we cut to Allie's house, and some trick or treaters are ringing the doorbell, and Art comes to the door, and he serves them candy out of a bowl that is fashioned from Allie's mother's hollowed out head. And the kids are like,
Why is Candy so slimy? And then
they're like, the candy's sticky.
the mom were like, it's just fake blood. It'll be fine.
Art thinks this is hilarious. He is overjoyed with this head bucket. But we're cutting back to Sienna and Jonathan's house. Jonathan and Barbara, they get into yet another fucking fight. Barbara is still upset with Jonathan, obviously, about the opossum thing, but he is trying to reiterate that he did not do that, and Jonathan's trying to show her sketches in the dad's sketchbook, and you can tell her reaction. It's more to it than just her being mad at Jonathan, right?
She's mad at dad.
Right. The way that she reacts is very much over the top. She kind of lets it be known. She's like, your dad was just, I mean, essentially out of his mind when he died. She's like, all of this is just a big reminder of that. And she ends up snatching the sketchbook away from Jonathan, and she rips it up. And Jonathan is very, very hurt because you can tell that he holds this sketchbook very dear. And it's his dad. His dad died. So he calls his mom a bitch. And Barbara slaps the shit out of Jonathan. Can you give us a sound effect?
She's like, don't you ever call me that again.
She was pissed.
No 2-piece, no biscuit, just straight up pepper. Just the pepper.
Just right right in his jaw. And so Jonathan's feelings are very hurt. And so he ends up running away from the house. And Barbara is going through it. You know, her husband died. We're going to learn more about that in a little bit. But she's clearly very much affected by it.
Well, because she a single mom who works two jobs.
Who loves her kids and never sobs, with gentle hands in the heart of a fighter. She's a survivor.
She got the hands of a fighter, all right.
She sure does. So she just starts taking pills and chugging wine in the middle of her kitchen. And I was like, I get it, Barbara. You're going through a lot. She is kind of on the verge of having a breakdown in this moment, but then she hears a noise coming from her garage. So she goes out to investigate, and she finds that her car has been vandalized. It's covered in shaving cream, eggs, pumpkins, toilet paper, and the word bitch is drawn on the windshield, like in the shaving cream. And I'm sure, because in that moment when she's drinking that wine and taking those pills, I know she probably felt really guilty about slapping the shit out of Jonathan. But I know in this moment, she wants to beat Jonathan's ass.
But you remember, like, in the beginning of the movie, she was like, Sienna, park in the garage because those children across the street, they throw stuff on your cars.
And I don't want to get my car vandalized.
Vandalized. I was just like, were we supposed to remember that?
Probably.
Are we watching the movie a little too hard?
That is a line that I really had to teeter on, because at the end, there's a lot of things that happened, and I kept thinking to myself, is there some greater meaning behind these things? I kept thinking about different motifs and like, how would my English professors break this down? I don't think so.
You were looking for the Aristotelian unities?
There, so, Dante, I had to, and that I was getting frustrated with myself because I was like, bitch, stop thinking about it. It's not fucking there. It's just not as deep, I think, as we're trying to make it.
This is just bones. This is just bones,
Cindy! This is bones.
This is bones.
Would you run from Callista Flockhart?
It's not Flockhart.
This movie is just bones. And so I think we just have to remember that. I think it's like a movie that's not here for a long time. It's here for a good time. I think we just have to take it for what it is.
We just compare everything to the first two Screams. That's our problem.
And they're not. Not everything is. And not everybody can be Wes Craven. And that's okay. Right. It's okay. So Jonathan, we know though that Jonathan, however, did not vandalize his mom's car, because he is out in the middle of throwing his tantrum and running away.
But do we know that at this point?
I at no point thought that Jonathan did this to his mom's car.
That's what I keep bringing up. What was Jonathan purpose? I'm like, were we supposed to like kind of think Jonathan is kind of bad but kind of good? Like he's doing this stuff? Or are we supposed to kind of have some big, like, aha?
No, I never got that feeling.
No, I'm thinking too hard. Sit your stupid ass down, Dante. You dumb. We just talked about how this movie just bones.
Right. In my mind, I always thought that Art heard them arguing and he did that to the car. Because one, Jonathan didn't have time to do all that, and his mom didn't hear. There's a whole smashed pumpkin. He would have had to been carrying stuff. I just don't think that he did that. But then two, the way that they've developed Jonathan's character thus far in the movie, and Sienna says it later when Barbara calls her to vent to her about what Jonathan did. Sienna has this lucid moment where she's like, Jonathan wouldn't do that. And from everything we've learned about Jonathan up until this point, it really doesn't seem like something he would do.
Right.
Like, he has a lot of other stuff going on, and vandalizing the car, just for what? I don't know. I always thought it was art.
I was just trying to think as I watched it, just like, where are we going with this? So that's why that whole first part of the movie is so weird to me.
It's like they're just saying stuff. None of those stuff are backed up by any of Jonathan's actions.
Right, and because nobody is, choking their chicken and pushing their snort all over the flappy titties, people don't hate it like they hate a Rob Zombie movie. But it's just as in ways jumbled and obscure and weird. And I know that people don't like those weird scenes in Halloween 2 where she's at the table and she's in the glass coffin and then they're shaking. But that's how I felt watching the Clown Cafe. I was just like, this is so weird.
The Clown Cafe was
Weird. And I just know people want to be like, it's like mirrored. And I'm not saying that they're mirrored. I'm not saying that one is better than one worse. Just like they're very similar in terms of structure of the movie. So again, it's not about them being exactly the same. It's that the way the movie is structured, they're structured the same. It's random. The dialogue is just not as aggressive,
Right. And shameless plug, everybody. If you haven't seen Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's version, we did do a podcast on it. It was our very first podcast, so go back and listen. We apologize if the quality isn't great, but we do cover it.
We had feelings.
We had some feelings. But let's get back to this one.
Let's get back to this one. All right.
Yes. So Jonathan, as he's walking in the middle of his runaway tantrum, he comes across Art's van, and it's parked, and it has the little pale girl inside. And this was so weird to me because she's sitting inside of the van, and it starts to be some like weird radio noises, and then he gets a little bit closer to the van, and he looks inside and he sees her. And she has these glowing eyes. I mean, like glowing like flashlights. Like they're really glowing. And I was like, damn, where the fuck did this come from? This some new shit. I thought that was weird. It's like a new element that they just added to the movie like an hour and a half in. I didn't really get that.
Well, in their defense, they got 46 more minutes to explain it, so why not?
Well, they don't end up explaining it, but I just thought, but whatever. It spooks him and he runs home, which you shouldn't have ran away from the house anyway, but I guess it's a good thing that he did. Then we cut back to the party with Sienna and Brooke because it's doing a lot of jumping back and forth between these two, between Jonathan's storyline and Sienna's storyline. And Sienna's really going through it. And so she's having a lot of feelings. And Brooke explains that she is feeling this way because Brooke put Molly in Sienna's drink. And I would have been so fucking pissed off.
Are we just lame, though? Have you ever drugged somebody?
No, we are not just lame. You can't just drug people.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't believe in narcotics. If you prove this about skirt lengths, I'm like, a total, like, dweeb when it comes to, like, any kind of drug. So, I was like, well, maybe I'm just, like, tripping. But I was like, and I mean this respectfully, I whipped that bitch ass. I would have whipped her ass. She would have got her ass whipped. And there would have been nobody to stop me.
Expeditiously. Because that's really fucked up. And then the craziest part is that Sienna is also on prescription medication. We saw her taking prescriptions earlier. She's on Xanax.
She had her missing drugs like she was Future or somebody. It was crazy.
Right. And so Brooke she's not aware of that, but it's like you're not aware, right? So why even risk it by drugging somebody's drink?
But it's just like, damn, why even keep this girl around? I mean, I might as well let a strange dude buy me a drink. If my friend's gonna drug me.
Right. And then it's like, Brooke, why go out with Sienna. If you think she's such a wet blanket, if you can't stand the thought of being around her without drugging her, why even go out with her? She's such an asshole. But while she's going through this revelation, Sienna's mom is calling her and she's yelling at her about what Jonathan did. She's like, I'm going to kill him. And this is the moment where it's like Sienna is very high, but even she can acknowledge that that really doesn't sound like something that Jonathan would do. But Barbara really isn't having it. And the best thing to come out of this call is that Sienna does get that opportunity. It's a very heartwarming little moment where she gets to tell her mom that she really loves her. And her mom says she loves her back. And it's a good thing that that happens because this is obviously this is setting up Art's 24th on-screen kill. So when Barbara goes back out to clean the car, she's cleaning it, she's wiping it down, and when she goes to wipe the driver's side window, she wipes it off and she sees that Art is in the car waiting for her. And he has this, it's like a weird, I don't know a lot about guns, but it's like a weird little sawed off shotgun handgun. It's like two big old barrels. And she wipes the window. She sees him. He's looking at her, smiling with this gun pointed at her. And then he puts it up against the glass and he fires. I mean, just like no hesitation, just with a huge smile on his face. And he blasts Barbara's face to smithereens.
He shot that lady like she stole his car.
Right. The gun blast is so strong, it could probably sink a small boat. Barbara's head is blown into another fucking dimension. It's so crazy looking. And you see like her scalp hit the wall across the room. It's just Barbara is no more. Barbara's gone at this point. It was very quick. The quickest he's killed someone, it's over. And now we cut back to the party with Sienna, and she gets a glimpse of the little pale girl who is at the club because in her defense, it is Halloween night.
So one person's at a party, there's a van, and somebody else is at home getting killed. And what else that happened? What other movie?
Okay, in Halloween 2.
It's the same movie.
But in this one, there's two of them.
Okay, but don't copy my homework and make it look obvious. But you still copy my homework.
Yeah.
And you remember how she was on the dance floor looking at her mommy? Hello, mommy. Say I love me, mommy. Say I love you, mommy. Remember how she was saying that stuff? It looked just like
And
that.
then she freaks out.
And have a seizure on the dance floor. It's the same thing.
And that's essentially what happens
What
with
happened?
Sienna. So Sienna gets these glimpses of the little pale girl who runs up on her, and Sienna has a freak out. I mean, just like a total meltdown on the dance floor. And so they end up having to leave.
Because they got thrown out or they got embarrassed?
They got embarrassed, and Brooke is pissed about it.
Well, probably because you 17 in a 21-year-old club, you get your girl Molly.
Yeah, Sienna was like, bitch, you drugged me, so this is also your fault. But they're getting kicked out of the club, and meanwhile, Jonathan is returning home, and he walks into the house, and he finds his mother's corpse sitting at the dining room table, and she is faceless.
Looking like Meatloaf.
It's really ridiculous. And so he's standing there and he's looking at her, and I would have left. I would have walked in and I would have seen that and I would have immediately ran away. But okay, whatever. He doesn't. But she's sitting at the dining room table. Art has put out candles and everything. And then Art comes out of the kitchen and he has an apron on. He's totally covered in blood. And he's ringing a dinner bell and he's holding this casserole dish of mashed potatoes
To go with that meatloaf.
the meatloaf. But He serves Barbara her mashed potatoes by violently taking a handful and stuffing it into the gaping hole that used to be Barbara's face. And I was like, damn, that is very disturbing. That's really crazy. He's just mashing mashed potatoes in there. So Art then chases Jonathan up into Sienna's room and he injects Jonathan in the neck with that same gorilla-sized syringe from the first movie that he used to inject Tara in the neck. A completely ridiculous syringe size.
He gotta make sure they passed out.
Yeah. So he then kidnaps Jonathan and he steals Sienna's sword. As Art is driving unconscious Jonathan around, him and the little pale girl start like making prank phone calls and shit. The little pale girl calls Sienna from Jonathan's phone and she's impersonating Jonathan and she's using his exact voice. And she used it to lure Sienna to the old carnival where Art had killed Emily years ago. And they're luring her to the Terrifier attraction there. So she's on the phone with her brother and she's in the backseat of the car with Brooke and Jeff. And Jeff agrees to take Sienna to the old carnival. But Brooke, who is she's such a fucking asshole and not a good friend. So besides the fact that she drugged Sienna, not knowing that Sienna was on Xanax, she flipped out on Sienna for having a panic attack at this club, which caused them to leave. And now she doesn't want to take Sienna to get her brother when her brother is clearly in trouble. And it takes Jeff, this stranger, to be like, let's go get him. And I was just like, Brooke is a really poor excuse for a friend.
Never had friends like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why you would be friends with somebody like this. So when they get to the carnival, Sienna gets out of the car to go find Jonathan. It takes Jeff, who is a complete fucking stranger, to be like, we should probably go with her. It's an abandoned carnival. And Brooke is like, no. It's just...
Let's do drugs.
Right. So they stay in the car, and while they're talking, this is when Brooke tells the story of what exactly happened to Sienna and Jonathan's dad. So we learned that Sienna's dad actually killed himself. So he had a huge brain tumor and he'd started seeing things. He really wasn't himself. And he started to be very abusive, especially towards Sienna. And then one day he just drank an entire bottle of Jack Daniels and he drove his car into a transformer and the car caught on fire and he burned to death. Very, very traumatic. But after that charming story, they decide to do more drugs and hook up. But it's at this point that Brooke remembers that she even has a friend named Sienna because she stops to call Sienna to see where she is because at this point she's been gone for a while. And Jeff gets out of the car to go pee. And as Brooke is waiting, she looks at the window and she sees that etched in the dust of the driver's side window, it says just the tip, which is what was written on Jeff's shirt. But she thinks this is a little weird. She seems like a little off-put by this. And this is all setting up Art's 25th and 26th on-screen kills. So while Jeff is peeing, Art comes up underneath him and starts stabbing him repeatedly in the penis. And only the penis. He then pulls Jeff's penis off with his bare hands. And he ends up rubbing it on the window where Brooke can see it. And he breaks the window. He pulls her out of the car. And as he's walking over to stab her, Brooke ends up kicking Art in the face. And it knocks him back, which gives her enough time to run away.
Because he really just sits there for a minute.
because he can't believe that she got the jump on him. He thought for sure that he was just going to be able to one and done it, but she kicked him in the face, and he really does not like when people disrespect him. Have you noticed that?
Right. Because he said that, he was just like,
Did this bitch really just kick me?
me in the face?
So Art ends up chasing her into a haunted attraction, and he ends up cornering her in this bathroom. And he holds up that really crazy weapon that he made in the beginning of the movie, that table leg with those knives and forks and stuff stuck in it. And he's holding it up, and Brooke is really focused on that because that is very scary. And she can't see what we, the audience, see. Behind his back, Art is holding a bottle of acid that he took from the morgue earlier. And so then he just throws it on her face, and it like totally melts her face off. He then beats her to death with this table leg. And with his hands, he rips open her chest and pulls out her still beating heart and then bites into it. And I was like, that's so fucking silly. That's such a silly thing to happen.
Was it silly when it happened in Queen of the Damned?
That's different.
Cause she had that fire dance scene before.
Right. And it's Akasha, and she's so sexy and so violent.
And Orion gave us an 8 count all movie.
No, they didn't. They didn't give us anything that they gave us in the first movie. I don't like that. He didn't put on a wig. He didn't have his bust out. He didn't have the boobs. He didn't dance. It's just
He wasn't doing his strut. He wasn't like Claudia.
no sachet,
Hey,
shotay.
salty.
He didn't give us any of that, so I'm a little salty about that. But whatever. I just thought that scene, that kill, was like super silly. So I was like, I don't know.
We got like 35 more minutes left the movie.
I know. I'm trying to rush through it.
I'm just thinking about like, damn, like a lot has happened and a lot needs to still happen.
I know. At a certain point, I'm gonna call it out when I was like, this movie should be over, because there's a point where I'm like, it's too much. It's too fucking much at this point. I kept checking the amount of time that was left. So Sienna ends up stumbling upon Brooke's body, and she takes time to grieve, not noticing that Art is posted up in the corner watching her. She then sees him, and he stops and waves at her with that big maniacal grin. He starts walking up to her when Jonathan, who's woken up at this point, comes in and distracts him long enough for Sienna to injure him. And he didn't like that at all. At this point, he is so pissed off. He literally just starts beating the shit out of Sienna. He's fucking her up. He is taking her, and he's like slamming her all over the bathroom. He slams her face in the mirror. He ends up kicking her all in the stomach, all in the face. He's so pissed off. He stays pissed off at Sienna for the rest of the movie. So he ends up knocking her out, and he goes to catch Jonathan. Spoiler, he does catch him. And he just starts slashing him with a scalpel. But during this time, Sienna has woken up, and she sneaks up behind Art, and she starts beating him with the modified table leg that he's made. And at this point, she slams it into his head, and it gets stuck in there. And while he's trying to dislodge this big old table leg from his head, they run. This same scenario happens like 6 more times.
Why did she run? Then we teach them that once you get them on the ground, you gotta
just kill them. But it just keeps happening. I think that the director is just trying to show that he cannot be killed by normal means. But it's so drawn out. It drags so much from here on out. It's almost hard to watch. So she's running, and she grabs a metal pipe, and she's hurt pretty badly. So they kind of take a break, and Jonathan takes his time to really reiterate that he believes that Sienna is the only person that can stop Art, and that they lured Sienna here to this carnival for a reason, so she must be important. And so they start looking for a way out, and for some strange reason, they separate. And I'm just like, Sienna, if you're gonna be a final girl, you have to start making some better decisions.
That was strange, right?
That was strange. Why? So then Art, who is disguised as a carnival prop, he stands up and he catches Jonathan and he starts beating him with that cat o' nine tails that we saw him beating Vicky with in the first movie.
He beats him so badly.
He beats him really badly. I feel like it takes Sienna forever to get back to him. That's why y'all shouldn't have separated. And I know that it hurts. So Sienna comes up and Art and Sienna get into a legit fight. They're fighting. And she beats him with a pipe and he beats her with the cat o' nine tails. And he kind of knocks her over. He goes back to beat on Jonathan some more. And we get this really touching scene. And I thought it was really nice. And it really speaks to the kind of character that Damien Leone wrote, like Sienna as. Because as Art is beating Jonathan, Sienna drags herself over to Jonathan and she lays her body on top of him to shield him.
And she ain't got no clothes on.
And she has, yeah, y'all
Now,
remember,
Jonathan
she's
got clothes
practically
on.
naked. He does. The cat o' nine tails is tearing her up.
Up. Like
And
poor
the
Peter. Like straight
I
up.
know.
Like straight up like poor Peter. Like I was like, damn, she is gonna be fucked up.
I know.
And y'all, Art is goofy as all outdoors. He's so tickled while he's doing this.
He thinks
Y'all,
this is
he is
hilarious.
tickled. He tickled. He doing the thing with his hands. He like crying. He like he
He
is
loves it.
laughing. He is pointing. He a fool.
Right. So don't get the wrong idea about what the tone is as he's beating her. He's having a good time. So don't think that everybody in this bitch is miserable. Art's really enjoying himself. But the movie starts to move in like a slow-mo type scene for a minute while Art is just delighting in fucking Sienna up. But then it's like, just like that, Sienna kicks it into final girl mode and she turns around, and when Art swings on her with the cat o' nine tails, she catches it and she yanks that shit from him. And then she starts beating his ass. She starts fucking Art up with the cat o' nine tails. She's slicing him all in his face, and Art is shook. Art's like, damn, how did I get here? She then takes this metal rod and she ends up stabbing him through the head. And Art falls over, presumably dead, right? Wrong.
But we got about 25 more less minutes of movie.
And not exaggerating. So if you thought he was dead, you're wrong. As soon as she turns her back, Art jumps up, grabs her from behind, and he's trying to strangle her. But Jonathan is able to get the sawed-off shotgun that Art keeps strapped to his ankle, because we know that Art always keeps that thing on him. At the ready.
Y'all thought that Art forgot?
Always.
Always.
So then, once he realizes that Jonathan has the gun,
this boy funny, huh? He was like,
it was super
like,
silly.
He's like, oh man, you got me.
Oh, you got me. And he puts his hands up and he's like, oh, shucks.
Playtime's over.
I know. Dang it. So Jonathan blasts him in his chest, which should kill him because we know that this is an elephant shotgun that has been sawed off. It blew Barbara into another stratosphere. And so he should be dead, right? So this is them kind of killing him once again. And so Sienna is really fucked up. And so she's falling into unconsciousness. And as she's falling into unconsciousness, she gets a vision of her mother. And she thinks that her mother is really there. And she gets up and she holds on to her and she's hugging her. And it isn't until Jonathan is able to yell to get through to her and tell her that it's not her mother that she turns around to find that it's actually a art Terrifier, like demon version of her mother. It has the art type makeup on. And then it touches Sienna's face and it gives her the vision of her mother being killed. And so Sienna is distraught at this point. Art is able to kind of take Jonathan and leave while she is going through it about her mom. So once she comes to and she realizes that Art and Jonathan are gone, Jonathan is unconscious. And so she runs up and she tries to just kind of beat on Art, but he grabs her because he's really over her shit at this point, and he starts strangling her, but she manages to tell him, fuck you. And so he pushes her like in her face.
He was just like, girl, you tripping.
I know, he was so done with her.
He just hit it in the face.
Yeah, just pushed her right in the face. And so she falls on this huge shaft and then she hits the bottom. And just to show you how pissed off Art is, he bends down and then spits on her.
Well, in his defense, she said F you and then she spit him and that made him upset because he looked at her just like, why did you do that? That's so nasty. And then he just pushed her in the face.
Right. Well, now he takes this opportunity to return the favor. And he spits on her. She is able to get up from this, but Art appears and he ends up stabbing her through the stomach with her father's sword. And then she falls into
The Twilight Zone.
I couldn't figure out what this is called, but the best way I could describe it is, you know, when magicians or like Houdini, they're like, I'm gonna get in this tank of water with my hands locked, and like if I can't unlock myself, I'll drown in here. And they're in that like glass box. Magicians seem to do this a lot. They do it in like the Prestige.
It's like a dunking booth. It's like, you know, like when you fall, it is like,
Oh
we're going to throw
yes,
this. It's
that's
like
a
a
good.
dunking booth.
That's what it's like. It's like a dunking booth, but it's like tall. It's tall and thin, and so she's in it. It's filled with water. Somehow she falls into this thing, and Art is so pleased to see her die. He's like, finally.
I have never met somebody who won't just die. Who's
I know.
Me?
Exactly. So he drops her sword and he goes back to Jonathan because he's like, well, I mean, it's been a while since I've gotten the chance to just eat somebody. So I'm just gonna go start snacking on Jonathan.
He was eating that leg like it was like fresh out the grease.
A fucking rotisserie.
He was just like,
I know. Stuff was we're gonna get there. So Sienna is somehow still alive, and while she's fighting to get out of this water box, for some reason, she's in the clown cafe from her nightmare.
she is.
Why? I don't know. This is where I was like, I don't know if I'm stupid or if I'm thinking about it too hard.
I was like, so, just so we're on the same page here, the clown cafe is a metaphor for what exactly?
Cindy! This is bold! Would you run from Callista Flockhart? I don't know.
I was like, did he not know how to end the movie?
This is Dante. That's what I'm thinking because y'all, I'm gonna be very real with y'all. I take notes on these movies, and I still have like a whole page of just straight movie notes.
It's so long.
It's so fucking long.
And it's just like, think about how far we are from Allie dying.
Yes, it's so long, and the movie should have ended a long time ago, in my opinion.
But where though? Where?
I don't like this keep dying, coming back bit that they're doing right now. It's overdone to death in this movie. They just do it too many times. And I'm just already exhausted. I was ready for it to be over. They kill him too many times. And now Sienna is in this tank and she's having this, I don't know, hallucination of the clown cafe. The host is still on fire and dancing, and she's playing her banjo. The dead kids are now up again and laughing and singing and clowning around. And Sienna drowns in this box. We see her drown and die. And then everybody in the clown cafe is also dead again. We cut back to Jonathan, who is waking up to he's waking up from being knocked unconscious with Art chewing on him, munching on his leg like a fucking Costco rotisserie chicken. And so he's calling out for Sienna.
Sienna!
Right. And I was like, is this Jonathan's purpose? Like, is
Sienna!
his purpose to keep her going? Well, we see that somehow Sienna's sword, the sword that her dad gave her, it somehow miraculously resurrects her from the dead.
You know, like when you was a kid and you used to go to like restaurants like TJ Fridays or like Chili's, and you'll be waiting for a table, and then all of a sudden it's just really quiet, and you just talking to your friend, and then your buzzer just start buzzing. It's just like that, everybody.
That's what's happening to Sienna right now. Yeah, so there's the red like flashing. It's coming from the sword, and it's also coming from her wounds. And then she's up. She's back. She's alive, and she's able to climb out of this water box, and she is back into final girl mode. So she walks up as Art's chewing on Jonathan's leg, and she stabs him with her sword. And as Art is trying to run away, she keeps stabbing him, and Art's on his knees in front of her. And then he gives her this big, goofy smile, and she just chops off his head.
But did you see that he kind of like he gave her a smile and then kind of leaned it so what she could get a good cut?
Where she could, yeah. So he gave her a smile and then presented his neck to her for her to cut it off.
Do you think he's more so like, okay, well, you got 2 licks, I'm gonna get mine? Or is he more just like, I know when I'm beat?
I think he was like, I know when I'm beat.
I'm tired, first of all. It's movie long.
This movie is very long. I'm not usually up on my feet this long. It usually goes quicker than this. Because he was done killing Vicky by 3.
Right.
It's late as hell. And so I interpreted it as he was like, you got me. So just do it. And I think he knows that he can't be killed. So as they're breathing their sighs of relief, the little pale girl comes in and she picks up Art's head, and then she looks at them with those glowing eyes, those like flashlight glowing eyes, before taking the head and walking out. Sienna and Jonathan are finally safe. They stop to embrace, and the credits start to roll. And I know that you guys probably think that's the end, and I am so sorry to tell you that there's a mid-credit scene. And we are at the Miles County Psychiatric Hospital, and we are seeing an institutionalized Vicky, and she's throwing up and heavily bleeding from her vagina. And she takes some blood and she writes a bunch of curse words all over the wall. And then she writes Vicky and Art. We get some shots of her nurse, and there's another, like a male nurse that's being played by Chris Jericho. And he's asking her, what is Vicky like? And the nurse says that she is actually pretty tame, and she can't believe that she was able to maul Monica Brown. And so the shots of Vicky that we're seeing, she's not at all like that. And so it's giving that Vicky does get possessed by Art in some way, right? Because we hear her singing the fucking Clown Cafe song, which she'd apparently been singing all day. She's doing a lot of screaming, a lot of bleeding, and this is causing her nurse to go check on her. And when the nurse checks on her, we see that Vicky has given birth to Art's living head.
It's provocative. It gets the people moving.
Does it though? So the nurse is horrified, as am I. And so she runs away screaming. And so we also see in Vicky's one functioning eye, we see that it's glowing, that flashlight glow, just like the little pale girl. And she's holding Art's head, who's like smiling. And that's how the movie ends. That is the final scene. So the Rotten Tomatoes for this movie. So we have, it's an 86% critic and an 80% audience. That's dumb high.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare it to Terrifier 1, remember we talked about this a lot with that movie. It is only a 55% critic and a 53% audience score. Vastly different. The IMDb, it's a 6.1 out of 10 with 43,000 reviews, and that is compared to a 5.6 out of 10 with 48,000 reviews of Terrifier 1. So I'll read some fun facts. So the movie was originally planned for a limited theatrical release for just a single weekend, but the movie reached top 10 at the box office on multiple weekends. So its theatrical run lasted well past Halloween. And the film only had a $250,000 budget, but it grossed over $10 million, which is a 3,900% return on investment, making it the most profitable film of 2022. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. You like the first one better, right?
Yes.
Okay, me too.
That I noticed is kind of a hot take. I saw people that we actually interact with a lot on social media, and they were saying that they did not like the first one, but loved the second one. I saw a lot of people give that opinion.
But you remember when you used to have to like write a few sentences on why you felt something on your test? It wasn't just like you could answer a question, you had to explain why. I need a little bit of that extra to go on.
I need that too, because I guess I'm just like, I don't get it.
I don't get that.
I think the biggest differences between the movies to me is Sienna. We really can't underestimate how important a little bit of a bigger budget is, but Sienna is the biggest difference, right? So this was one of the fun facts I had. Damien Leone, has obviously denied any allegations of misogyny that he got for Terrifier 1, which we talked about it in the other one. We don't believe that it was misogynistic. I know that a lot of people do feel that way. That's not what we got from it. But he says that he was raised by women who taught him to love horror movies. And so he spent a lot of time investing in the character of Sienna for Terrifier 2 to kind of get past all of that criticism. He wanted to make a character that the audience could root for, not for them to root for Art the Clown. Which I thought that's so funny that he said that, because that is exactly what's happening in Terrifier 1. We don't root for any of those characters. We don't like any of them. Every single one of them, we were like, I couldn't wait for them to die. And that is a big difference between Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2. It's having Sienna and I guess by extension Jonathan. So maybe that's why people like it better, because you have somebody to root for. I don't know. What do you think?
This movie is very long.
Well, I guess let's get the question out of the way. What do you think? Is it a hit or a miss for you?
This is the thing, though. I really think it's kind of a miss for me. If we wouldn't have done this episode, I don't think I would have watched it again. I'll go see anything in the movie theater, so that's just what it is. But I don't think I would have watched it again. And it's not like it's so bad, it's so terrible, I hate it, it's been made. It's just like, huh? If there was never another art movie and it ended with him choking that paramedic at the end of Terrifier 1, I'd just be like, yeah, that was cool. That was a cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
This was a lot going on.
It was a lot going
It was
on.
so many things going on. And I was like, this kind of crazy. And it's long. And I can handle crazy if it's a short movie.
I mean, he was really asking a lot of us as an audience with this movie.
Almost 2.5 hours. That's a long time.
I guess I would have to say if I give Terrifier 1 a hit, I guess I do have to give this one just overall, it's a low-key miss. It's a low-key
You
miss.
missed the mark on some things.
I think that if it had been tighter, it definitely would have been better. I think that some things could have definitely been removed. I don't like any of the stuff with the little pale girl. I don't like that.
Jonathan and Sienna, why can they only see her? Why?
He doesn't do a good job explaining that. He doesn't do a good job explaining anything about their father. I don't know what we're supposed to glean from.
People were like, in the conspiracy that they're like, well, it's Art her dad. And I was like, well, no, Art can't be her dad.
I don't even think that's what the director is
Implying.
right.
So he was having psychic visions and he knew that she was going to be able to defeat Art.
That's the thing. They don't explain, yes, but they don't explain that in any way, shape, or form. They don't explain anything about Sienna's dream, why the wings caught on fire, why is she the only person that can kill Art with this sword? Like, why is the sword magical in some way? I don't know. They don't explain that.
Why did you add all of this?
I don't think that it's too much to ask for things to be explained in the movie, to have a complete movie. I don't feel like this movie gives enough that it's like we're just not getting it, that we're missing the message, that we're just not, smart enough to get it. It's not there.
Because I have good understanding. Why is it so important for us to hear all this exposition? Once you realize, like, you watch the whole thing, you're like, well, why did I have to watch the beginning of this movie? What was all that for? Strange. It's like almost two different movies.
Yeah, I agree. It does kind of feel like two different movies.
We're so far from Allie's death by the time we get to the end of the movie that it doesn't even matter. But Dawn's death was always a part. We even went back and saw her body after. Allie and her mom, that could have happened in the first one at this point. That's how far removed by the end of the movie that we are from them.
Right.
But it was so important that we met these characters. It was so important that we knew that Jonathan was into serial killers. It was so important that, her dad killed himself and this sword and all of that just kind of for her to chop the head off and the little girl to take the head and then for the other girl to give birth to the head. That sounds crazy when I say it.
It does sound crazy when you say it. I don't understand Vicky's connection to Art. I don't know if it's that when he eats them or something that they become part, because we have the little pale girl who is, her ghost is there. They obviously have some connection with that. I don't understand why she gave birth to his head. And she gave birth to his head and I guess I'm like, now what? What was the point of that? Like, is he gonna grow a body? I don't quite understand what we're supposed to take from that. I don't know why the little pale girl existed in the movie whatsoever. She didn't do anything. She offered nothing to the story. All of that is so much extra stuff that I feel like really padded the runtime and didn't need to be in there.
It's just a lot. So for me, it really is just a miss for me. I guess great ideas, horrible execution. If people want to see it, they can go see it, but I'll probably never watch it again.
I'll never watch it again. I feel so hesitant to just call it a miss.
Well, you only gave it two options.
I know. I just feel so hesitant to call it a miss because there are some things I do like about it. I do think that Damien Leone made a good character in Sienna. I think she is a really great final girl. I think if she was in a different movie, I feel like we needed Sienna in like Terrifier 1 and it would have fit because that movie makes sense. It's like grounded a little bit more in reality, and I think that she's really badass and it would have worked in a movie that was grounded in reality so that she could be a badass and just defeat the evil, and then it would kind of wrap it up in a satisfying story. I think her character gives the movie a little bit more merit, and I think that that's why it's rated higher, because he has a strong female lead. I didn't like the kills in this one. I didn't think they were particularly great. I don't think that any kill in this movie, Allie included, equals up to Dawn's and the squatter lady in the first one when he made that wig and breastplate. I just don't think any kills in this movie equaled up to that.
Even with like Ramon and the Pizza Man, that was cool. I killed like 26 people in this movie. I'm just kind of like,
Right. And it's the, Damien Leone. And I do have to, I was very, very impressed when I was reading about how 99% of this movie was practical effects and he did the practical effects. That's really impressive. And you have to applaud him for that. But at the same time, I'm like, it was so over the top in this movie that it was just like, I was like turned off by it. It just seemed like really fake. It was gross for being gross sake. It's just kind of silly. But let's talk about, so just very briefly, because I know that this podcast is going to be so long, and I'm sorry. If y'all have made it this far, thank you. But let's talk briefly about, so they did announce Terrifier 3 is coming out 2024, October 2024. And Damien Leone released a teaser trailer because Terrifier 2 was in theaters for one day for a reshowing. And they showed a teaser trailer, and the teaser trailer is Art dressed as Santa Claus, and he is rifling through people's belongings, and a little kid runs up behind him, and she's like, Santa! And we see Art's face, and he smiles, and then he pulls out an axe, and then it cuts to him sitting in a lounge chair in these people's living room, and he's eating like Santa's cookies, and he's smiling, and he's totally covered in blood. And so that's the teaser. So the next movie is going to take place during Christmas. The majority of feedback that I've seen about this teaser trailer is people are very, very excited. They feel very, very positively. People can't wait for this Christmas art. But I did read somebody's review, and as I was reading it, I was like, damn, that made a lot of sense to me. This is somebody that we follow on Instagram. They do movie reviews. And what caught my eye was that they released a statement, and they were saying that the Terrifier fan base is very, very toxic, and how they just gave just their own opinion on seeing the movie. So their opinion was they didn't really like Terrifier 1. They loved Terrifier 2, but they aren't even planning on seeing Terrifier 3 because they are essentially completely turned off by the fact that it's going to be set during Christmas. And they made a very valid point in that that doesn't really make sense because all of the movies thus far have established that Art comes around on Halloween. And they were like, it's so strange to me to see him in a Christmas movie when the franchise is already established that he is like a Halloween villain. And they were like, this would be, in their opinion, equivalent to like if Michael Myers popped up to eat like Thanksgiving turkey. Like that doesn't make sense to them. And so he kind of feels like, I guess, Damien Leone is trying to cash in on like a Christmas time movie. I don't know. What do you think?
I read that comment as well. I understand what he's saying because it's just random, and then they also want to say like people would be dumb mad if it was like Halloween, and then the first scene was like if we had a Memorial Day barbecue or something.
And Michael Myers just walked up.
All Hallows Eve, and then the two Terrifiers are all on Halloween.
It's like they've established this timeline. And I guess, you know, I saw people really did rip this blogger to shreds. They ate him alive in the comments.
And they were just saying like goofy stuff.
Right. So it's kind of weird that if you don't share the same opinion as someone, automatically you're like stupid, fat, dumb, like ugly, like poor. It's just I don't understand that, but I thought it made sense, and they also were turned off by the fact, and I thought this was a good point too. They were like, "So art's killing kids now?"
That's just something that people don't want to see.
It's not, and I think that Damien Leone's thing is like he clearly likes to push the envelope, right? I don't want to see him kill kids.
Nobody wants to see that.
But maybe with the third one, if he does cut the time, so let's be real on that, and if he dials back the supernatural, maybe I'll be into that one too. You know what I mean? It's just, I didn't go to see Terrifier for supernatural, not this level of supernatural, because we had to, like in All Hallows Eve, you do have to, I guess, accept that there is some kind of supernatural element to art. You know what I mean? But it's Terrifier 1 is so grounded
Oh,
in, you know,
he kills those kids in the first one in All Hallows Eve.
he does kill them.
It's not
I don't
about
think
that.
you see him
You
kill
don't
them,
see it.
though. You just see them dead.
He
So
killed them. So yeah.
he
So
did
they
kill him. So yeah, I guess art does kill kids.
so that's canon. So I here killing children.
Yes.
Let us know what you let us know what you think. You know, after you go finally get to go to the restroom and get a snack
I
after
know.
after sitting here. Well, it's not a movie theater, so you can get up. You don't have to be following my rules.
Sorry this was so long.
There was just a lot to discuss. It's a 2.5 hour movie.
Right.
Do y'all think it's too long, or do y'all feel like it was like if you like the second one more than the first? That's what I really want to know why.
I would really like to know why too. So, on that note, please, we are very, very active on. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, and you can find us. It's Did You Get That on Film? We do have the YouTube channel as well. Did You Get That on Film? If you want to interact with us, talk to us, you can DM us. We are very, very active, present when we talk to people. If you want to leave comments on stuff, just go find, just, you know, like, subscribe, of course. But if just please let us know. If you like this one better than the first one, just let us know why. We're very,
Why?
very interested in that. And what are your feelings on the third one? And just anything that if you feel similarly to us, let us know. Let's have a dialogue about it. But please, again, we've said this before, please don't come for us in the comments. We want to have healthy, open discussions. It's the horror community. We're all supposed to be united in this. Just don't come for us, please.
So just tread lightly. We love it.
All right. So on that note, we should probably end this because this has been quite long.
Yes. Thank you again, and we look forward to our next episode.
Right. Thanks, guys. Bye.